Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, so I got to admit that I'm starting to evolve a little bit on some of the thinking on what we've talked about on recent James shows, because one of the dilemmas that I have just bouncing around in my giant head is I'm trying to decide whether or not Kamala Harris is an intelligent person pretending to be dumb, pretending to not know the answers to these questions, or, just giving the word salads, or is she a dumb person pretending to be smart? Now, it's been really difficult because ambiguous answers are politically smart. It's a strategy a lot of people use in politics your entire life, especially when the true answer to the question isn't politically popular. So there's two explanations for this. And, there's wiggle room here, but let me ask my first guest here, Anthony Russo. Anthony Russo's back on from the Truth Will Set You Free podcast. If you have unpopular opinions on, the economy, you would necessarily want to give evasive answers. So what do you think it is, Anthony Russo?
I don't think she's stupid. I don't think she's smart. I think she's an average human being. Average human beings should not be at that level of politics and running for obviously the highest position in the land. I think her evasive answering shows that she's just an everyday person. I think she's beyond that because of what she's done with her career, but her intelligence is the same as somebody that I have on a podcast that's ill-equipped to debate me on actual factual items with the economy, with the government, with the way things work. That's the way that I see how she spins out of her answer. She doesn't even spin politically. She spins out of ignorance. So I think that that's what we're watching. And we have to remind ourselves, when you have the media essentially saying, what she meant was, and carrying her water,
right? That's
why people aren't realizing that she's just ill-equipped for this level of leadership.
Well, I go into election season trying to be, this sterile interpreter of platforms, and I can't figure out what hers is. Like, how would you label her economic philosophy? I'm an Austrian economist. Art Laffer's a supply sider. The Mick Jagger says he's a Keynesian economist. What's Kamala Harris?
She's an opportunity economist. I think that's what it is. It's the repeated use of trigger words for an unintelligent America, saying things like joy and opportunity, and everybody can be. I would say, what she is? She is a kumbaya economist. She is finding a way to make people feel as though if we say that we're going to make it better without any logistical way of doing the economy the way that she says it, there's no way economically. There's no way to put money towards the program she wants to put it towards. There's no way that it functions. But if you just continue to say it'll be all good, and you do the kumbaya speech to everybody and happy, happy, joy, joy, then everybody will think that you have their best interest in mind without realizing it's just the same as a high school election saying we're going to have soda machines in every room.
Well, there's a positive to that. If she's not an ideologue, because there's no doubt Barack Obama loved the more socialist side of the Democrat Party, of Team Blue. And if she is just really, I don't want to say a blank slate, but I don't know, empty suit, whatever metaphor you want to use. If she doesn't have real ideological convictions, even if she does win, there's no reason to expect that she would go as hard left as some of her politics would suggest.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I don't think she would go hard left, but I think we all know that she's not going to be in charge of the government. I think Obama was a president that was in charge of the government. I think Trump was in charge of his government. I think that Joe Biden was obviously being controlled by somebody else. And the same thing, some people are like, I think Kamala's the one controlling the White House. No, she wasn't. So it's going to be the same thing. The dangerous people are the ones that we don't see, and they're the ones that are further left than we can possibly imagine. These are global leaders. These are not just people that are looking out for the good of America. These are people that are actually going to be able to control what Kamala Harris does as an executive order, as a leader. And she I don't think is even smart enough to know what is far left and what is center and what is just regular Democrat policies. And again, the Democrat establishment is no longer where it was 30 or 40 years ago. This is not JFK's democracy. This is a completely shift in guard. So I would actually be very concerned if she was in charge, because she's not the one pulling the strings.
Well, Anthony Russo, if your puppet theory bears out to be true, especially if she's totally controlled, that means at this debate, there's not another debate, is there? Oh man, okay. So she could have this balloon pop though if she ever really gets asked questions. If she does a long press conference fielding hostile questions that are unscripted and unknown and unedited afterwards. I mean, this is a candidacy that could implode.
I would think, but here's the problem. This is why I think debates are important, because everybody's watching. They're watching it live. They're not just watching the clips afterwards. If she goes down in flames, the 95% of the media that is carrying the water of the Democrat Party and needing Trump not to be in office will never show those clips. So that means the conservatives will be sharing it on their social media. Fox will have it in a couple places, but nobody that matters, nobody in the middle will see it. So her campaign cannot implode without an absolute disaster at a major debate, because then the 30-40% in the middle that are somewhat swayable will never see it. It's really 10%. They won't see it.
Yeah, we all see where you're going with that, which means that Republicans and especially the people on the national level, y'all need to start asking for another debate. Y'all need to demand another debate, because I think you have a real opportunity there, seeing as how she's handled just these little softball interviews. Thank you very much, Anthony Russo. How do they find the Truth Will Set You Free podcast?
Truth Will Set You Free USA on all the social media networks. Easiest way to find me.
Thank you very much, Anthony Russo on The James Show. Coming up next, Kamala Harris sat down for another interview, this time with Stephanie Ruhle from MSNBC, and you'll learn very little from the clips I'll play next. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'll play them. We'll get some giggles out of it, but don't expect to get anything in depth. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Now we're just 40 days away from the election. Now, Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 67 days, no formal news conference, but we did get another glimpse into, look, it was an interview. It was a softball interview. I get it. It's Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC, dedicated lefty. No one can argue with it. I mean, she's pretty open about it too. And I'll give her credit. She actually attempted to get to some meat on the bones with some of her questions. It wasn't a very long interview. I watched it for you. You're welcome. See, that's one of the reasons you have to listen to this show, because I took that 16-minute interview. I'm just going to break it down, and it's not going to be nearly as painful for you in this summary here, because I cut out a lot of the fat. But we're going to start with some of the fat, okay? We're going to have some fun with it, because we got a new game that we play on the James Show here, and it's called What is the Question? This is where I play an answer that Kamala Harris gives to an interview, and you have to guess, what the hell was the question even? All right? So listen to this. I'm going to play this. What is this like? Man, this is a minute. Can you sit through a minute of word salad to try and guess what the question is? Because the last time we played this, no one guessed. All right, here it is. I'm going to play the answer. You tell me, what the hell is the question?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class. Look, my mother.
Oh, there it is. She said I came from the middle class. That's where you can cut it off right there. When did that become a crutch? I come from the middle class? All right, now I just let you listen to a whole minute of that. What was the question? A minute and 11 seconds of that. What was the question? You have no idea, do you? You don't even know what the category is. Was that about foreign policy? Was that about safety? Was that about crime? Was that about immigration? Was that about the economy? What was that about? Was that about tax policy? Was that about tariffs? What was it about? You have no idea, do you? I mean, you could rule some things out that probably wasn't about like Israel, Gaza, that probably wasn't about like Russia, Ukraine, or anything foreign policy related. But if it's so general, that's the only way you can narrow it down. That's what a non-answer is. That is like the definition of a non-answer. That like they couldn't, like if you were playing Jeopardy, that would be impossible. That would be Alex Trebek goofing you. Well, whoever's doing it now. But that's like you have no idea what the question is given that answer. Hilarious. I mean, I'll let you guess, 800-288-9227, but you're not going to, so don't bang your head on the wall. Let me get to, someone's going to try and guess. I love it when people call in on weird stuff. So let me get to an actual piece of substance here. What about the tariffs? Give credit to Stephanie Rule from MSNBC pointing out that Biden kept some of the Trump tariffs, and they've talked about raising some tariffs on their own, and they've done some things with tariffs that she says are, at odds with what she's saying on the campaign trail. So listen to this. Are we going to get an answer? Not really, but I have to play it anyway.
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I'm going to, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must be serious and have a plan, and a real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally, but actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment and what will be the economic impact on everyday people.
Do you have any idea what her tariff policy is after hearing that? She was asked a specific question about tariffs, and she didn't give like a limit. She didn't give like a category. She didn't give like, well, maybe just these countries, or we're just going to be reciprocal with tariffs. She didn't actually talk anything about tariff policy. Just to give you an example of a good answer from a Democrat on tariffs, we can go to our neighbor here, Mark Cuban. Yeah, fellow Texan here. He's on with Neil Cavuto, and he was asked about tariffs. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this or disagree with this. I'm just contrast how smart Mark Cuban's answer, how on the nose, how a direct addressing of the question Mark Cuban gives versus what Kamala Harris gives. Mark Cuban's more qualified to be president than Kamala Harris.
Mark, you argue that, and it's always good to have you, you argue that Donald Trump's are particularly, I think you used the word insane. What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, strategic tariffs aren't bad. So if a company's trying to dump, or a country's trying to dump in the United States and we have a manufacturer there, tariff them, that's great. But across the board tariffs, 10 or 20% is just inflationary. It's a tax on the American consumer. But to make matters even worse, and what's truly insane, when you threaten a legendary company like John Deere with a 200% tariff if they move, but only a 10 or 20% tariff on China, what you're doing is you're making it easy for the Chinese competitors to take business away from John Deere. That is the definition of insane.
All right, now whether or not you agree with that, he's making an assertion and then he's basing it on evidence. He's telling you not just theory, and then he gives you like a real world example like the John Deere reference. That's what I'm talking about. Contrast that with what Kamala Harris just said on tariffs. Mark Cuban's answer is what you should be getting from someone who's trying to get the job of running this country. If someone's trying to run the country and they're given like non-answers to specific questions, and you can contrast them with someone we know is smart, whether or not you agree politically with Mark Cuban, you know he's a smart guy. He's a successful guy. He knows money. He knows finance. He knows business. A lot of people, even if they come into a lot of money, they blow through it. He's just turned it into more. Few people do that. It's one of the things we like about Donald Trump. Contrast his answer with Kamala Harris and tell me she's still the best person, the best Democrat out there to be president. Tell me she still deserves a vote. And I still haven't decided whether or not she's dodging because she doesn't have an answer, or if she's dodging because she knows her answer, but it wouldn't be politically helpful for her to tell you. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up, incredible story. The mayor of New York City, he is in big trouble. And we're not going to make fun of him too much.
New York City!
But we are going to make fun of him quite a bit. That's coming up in about 7 minutes on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. I'm getting ready to watch some football this weekend. I'm going to add a little bit of spice. I'm going to add some jalapenos to my nachos with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. I'm going to get a couple of Cowboys, and whatever the statistic is, I'm just going to pick less. Actually, that game's tonight, isn't it? Oh, my goodness. I'm glad I'm telling you about this. I'm glad I had to do the spot so I can remind myself. Yeah, the Cowboys are playing the Giants, and if they don't win this game, they might as well just take a knee the rest of the season. But you can still have fun with it using the Prize Picks app or any other sport that you're into. Just about hockey just started back up. They had the exhibition game last night. Basketball's right around the corner. And Prize Picks makes sports just a little bit more fun. So go check it out. I do it. And if you download the Prize Picks app, use promo code WBAP with your first $5 play. I'm going to get you a bonus $50. That's right. Use code WBAP when you download it and sign in. And with your first $5, $50 in bonus cash. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The comments that are coming in, hilarious. First, Becky says, it sounds like she's stoned. Someone every show for about the last 67 days since she's been the presumed candidate has said that. Almost every show. She sounds drunk. She sounds stoned. She's had martinis for lunch or something to that effect. I don't think so, but I have a hard time dismissing it when so many people see that. You're not crazy if you see that. I don't see that. I don't think she's messed up. Dude, at 11 in the morning on some of these? I don't know. That's maybe you're right. Maybe she just, I don't know, maybe has like a weed vape in the SUV on the way to MSNBC. I don't know. Maybe they let you weed vape in the green room at 30 Rock. How should I know? So yeah. Oh, and other comments. People were actually trying to answer the question. What's the question? And I played you a Kamala Harris answer from the Stephanie Ruhle interview yesterday on MSNBC. No one got it right. It's an impossible task. I mean, I wouldn't play the game if it was possible. There's other answers she gives where you can tell what the question is. I just picked the word salady one because she does it almost. I guess we only have like 2 or 3 interviews to go on, but this was the answer. I'll tell you the question. Someone called in, some old comedian called in and said the question was, what's 1 + 1? I love your sense of humor, sir. You're hilarious. The other guesses, none of y'all got it right, but here, this was the answer.
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so...
That's such a terrible answer. Look, when you find out what the question is, it makes the answer even worse.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future.
Yeah.
But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
All right, now listen to the answer.
Well, if you are hardworking,
What if you're disabled, right? What if you're not hardworking? What if you just are coasting through your job? What if you're quiet quitting? What if you're unemployed? What if you're retired? What if you're a child? There's a whole lot of people that doesn't apply to. They're not in your plan?
have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do.
If you have dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, you're in their plan. Well, then you don't have a real plan. What is your plan? Fairy dust? Stop it. But that was the answer to that was the question to the answer. I get to say it backwards and be correct. But there was some more stuff in this interview that I think you would. This is actually policy. This is actually important. If I played you this answer, you would know what the question is. So, hey, I'll give her a little bit of credit on this. But let's break this down, because now we're actually talking about tax policy and how much is coming out of your check every month. Well, this is the policies that affect that.
You're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you.
Sorry.
Under a Harris administration, at what income level should someone expect their taxes to go up? And that state and local tax deduction that's currently capped and matters to a lot of people in blue states, are you going to lift that cap?
So, first of all, when it relates to anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes will not go up.
Stop! All right, that's enough to talk about right there. This is one that gets thrown out a lot, this threshold of $400,000 a year. Why? It's not mathematical. They never explain it. Well, mathematically speaking, this is where the tax bracket has to come down to in order to generate the revenue at this appropriate rate. And here's the spreadsheet explaining how that'll work. It's never that. They picked a high enough number so everyone listening gets the idea of, oh, it's not going to be my taxes. They're only going to raise taxes on the other guy. So a tax increase isn't really a tax increase for me, right? So you put forth a policy that only affects. But when you think about how many people in America make more than $400,000 a year, I know the number, individually speaking, on income, 1%. 1%. We're talking about people who make $400,000. Do you know anyone who makes that much money? I've had occasion to know a couple people who make that much money. One of them's an anesthesiologist. Not exactly Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, is he? And what do you have to do? He had to go through like 6-8 years of higher education, had to go through a residency, had to take a lower level job, work his way up. He's only going to make this amount of money for a brief 20 years or so. Then he retires and he has to live off of that for the rest of his life. He may not be able to. Look, I know it's really hard to feel sorry for someone that makes $400,000 a year, but just tap the brakes. If it's only like 1% of the taxpayers, of the tax filers, we're talking about 1.5 million people. When we're dealing with a federal deficit every year of about $2 trillion, that means each one of these people would have to pay $1.3 million in additional taxes. Now, that's not possible for my friend. That's not possible for the guy who's the third string left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. He's a young fella that's going to make more than $400,000. He's probably only going to do it for like 3 or 4 years. And that's supposed to set him up for the rest of his life. That's what a lot of people in that high bracket are. They're not, people, rich guys, fat capitalist robber baron pigs lighting their cigars with $100 bills. A lot of them you would barely recognize as upper middle class. For a lot of people, it's a real temporary situation, but there's just not enough of them to fill in that deficit anyway. And let's have the bigger conversation. Coming up next, I'm going to ask you, what is the fair share? Because she brought up the fair share there, especially if you're on Team Blue. If you're a Democrat that's voting for Kamala Harris, what do you think What do you think she means when she says fair share? And what do you think counts as fair share? And does she match that? Do you have any idea what her tax rate would be? Because I'm going to come back after this update, and I'm going to talk about who really is paying their fair share, and more importantly, who really isn't paying their fair share. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Just a reminder, I'm going to be at the most Texan place on earth. I don't know if I can even say that anymore. I'm going to be at the State Fair of Texas. They moved me from the Lagoon to somewhere else. Just find me, whatever. I'm mad I can't bring all my guns. I was going to bring them all and just start juggling them right over there by the dinosaurs or whatever. Texas Star. Can't do that now. But here's the question that we're floating right now. And, if you want to answer, call in. I would really like to hear from someone who's voting for Kamala Harris or someone who considers themselves a Democrat. What is this fair share, this mythical, magical number? What is it, a percentage? Because she gave us, at least we got like an income level of $400,000. Everyone else is going to could expect a tax cut. I mean, mathematically speaking, that's kind of impossible. But look, let's just go ahead and go with it. Because right now, by the way, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Because when you break it down, the top 1% of taxpayers is what we're talking about in this who makes more than $400,000. Now, their fair share, they earned 22% of all income, but they paid 42% of all the income taxes. So their share of the income taxes is just about twice their share of the nation's income. Is that fair? They're not paying their fair share? Well, what is it? What is it then? Do they have to pay 3 times their share of the nation's income in order for it to be fair? Meanwhile, around 40% of the country pays zero. A big chunk, about 30% of the country, gets money back out of the tax system through tax credits and whatnot. You know, tax credits are just wealth redistribution through the tax code. It's just a social program that hides the spending through the tax code. But really, I think it's unfair to limit it just solely to income taxes, because rich people, even if they do pay the exact same rate, they're nominally paying more. So they're doing more than their fair share if you want to look at it on a nominal rate. But if you want to look at it in proportion, fine. Include some of these other taxes, though, too, because they already pay more than you do in property taxes. They already pay more than you do in sales taxes and in income taxes. And they have to pay some of the other taxes that you have to pay, too, the gas taxes and whatnot. They're not getting a break on a lot of this stuff. But they also, on top of that, those evil, evil rich people, they pay into all kinds of taxes that most people don't. Capital gains taxes, like if you have a giant pile of after-tax money that's in the stock market, and you hold on to this stuff for years and years, and you make a big profit, so you finally sell, and you got to give a chunk of that gain to Uncle Sam in the form of capital gains taxes. Or it could happen like if you have a rental property, or you bought an office building and you hold on to it for a long time, and then you sell it for twice as much as you bought it for. You're on the hook. You got to pay taxes on that gain there. Most people don't have to do that. Most people are not at that level. Most people are at the zero tax liability level. There's more people at the zero tax liability level than that. They have to pay dividend taxes. They have to pay luxury taxes. You bought a yacht yet? I haven't. I haven't paid luxury taxes. But this whole fair share argument is even more interesting when you turn it upside down. What about the bottom 90%? 90%. They earn a little more than half. They earn 51% of the nation's income, but only pay 26% of the taxes. So they pay around half of their share of the nation's income. And I'm not talking about the poorest of the poor. I'm talking about the bottom 90%. I'm talking about poor, middle class, even upper middle class, these people. So if you're above that threshold, you pay twice your share of the nation's income in income taxes. If you're under 90%, you pay half your share of the nation's income. But here's the big question. A little 32% or so, 34% that gets money back from the tax code, because there's a whole lot of credits. The Kamala is talking about adding one now. Child tax credits, earned income tax credits, solar panel tax credits. There's all kinds of programs they've snuck in there. Are they paying their fair share? If you're getting money out of the system, if you're getting more money out of the system than you put into it, you really paying your fair share? So the question is, what is fair share? 800-288-9227. Argue with me on this one. I don't like, if you agree with me, there's no point in you calling, but argue with me on this one. Fair share either means we all pay the same rate, just period, point blank, end of story. From the poorest guy, the guy that's got a minimum wage job out there, all the way up to Jeff Bezos, we all pay what, 10%, 20%? Let's just pick out a number. Or I think what would be even more fair if we just had a per head bill that we all got for being Americans. And it doesn't matter. We were all treated equally, whether we have money in the bank or not, whether we get a big check or not, whether we're working or not. Isn't that what's fair? Is everyone being treated exactly the same and getting the exact same bill? So when you look at it, what's our budget this year? $6 trillion or so dollars, and there's 330 million of us. So just divide it in there, and that's your bill. Well, James, if you do that, then we're all going to have to pay $10,000, $20,000 in taxes a year. Well, for some of us, we already are. But for those of you who can't afford it, well, I guess we better get government spending down, shouldn't we? But what is fair? What do you think Kamala means when she says fair? What do you think that means when she says fair? What do you think fair is? If I made you king for a day and could have you rewrite the tax code, how would you write it to be fair? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, this is a heady topic. This isn't something that you could do on like the Morning Zoo, where we're going to play like some of your favorite hits from the 80s and 90s, and then we're going to do some wacky prank phone calls. Nope. You're a different audience. You're better than that, and I'm going to treat you like you're better than that. I want to hear your tax policy. Well, James, that's not sexy. That's not cool. No, it's not sexy. It's not cool, but it's important. And this is what adults talk about on WBAP. 800-288-9227. And I also got to note that when I do the broadcast tomorrow from the Texas State Fair, I'm going to be set up in the dock inside the Embarcadero building. the dock inside the Embarcadero building. Thank you from our promotions coordinator. So yeah, I'm going to be at the State Fair of Texas. Look, if you gave me my ideal situation, I would get rid of the income tax, period, point blank, end of story. Well, how would we fund the government? Well, however we funded it before 1913 when we passed the income tax. It was a lot smaller. We didn't have all this spending. We didn't have all these social programs. We didn't have Social Security. Didn't have Medicare. We didn't have Medicaid. I'd get rid of all that too and just go back to what we did before that. And if you want to do all these social programs, you're going to have to do them at the state level. So California can just bankrupt California and not the rest of us. Look, we still had revenue. We still had an army. We still had roads before 1913. Get rid of the whole damn thing. Just go back to funding the place off of tariffs and fees and gas taxes. Don't worry. There's still plenty of taxes out there if you just get rid of the income tax. 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Well, you heard the fair share again. Who's going to get their taxes raised? Well, only people making more than $400,000 a year. Well, what kind of sense does that make? That's what's fair, y'all. Fair. You got to pay your fair share. So the question is, what is fair share? What do you think fair share is? What do you think a fair tax code would look like? Or what do you think she's talking about? Either one. I'll get your opinion or try and interpret this, because it's so hard to, it's like nailing Jello to the wall. The people that say fair share, just give me a number. Why do you have to say fair share? It assumes my tax plan is not already fair.
Taxes will not go up. And in fact, under my plan, taxes for 100 million Americans will actually be cut, including $6,000 a year for young couples for the first year of their child's life in a tax cut, a tax credit, essentially, by expansion of the child tax credit. And why is that? Because during the first year of a young couple, of a person's child's life, they're going to need help buying a crib, buying a car seat. And we all benefit when they're actually able to do what they naturally want to do.
But what's the number? What's fair share?
And expanding that child tax.
Hang on. She never tells. I can go over it again, but she never tells. That's why I'm asking you. 800-288-9227. Is this Cherry or Sherry? You're on the James Show. Huh? Which one?
Sherry.
I don't know if you said CH or SH.
Let's just leave it at Sherry. And
okay, Sherry. Gotcha.
Say flat tax across the board.
What do you think the number should be?
10%.
I like that. Now, I suspect you're basing this on the biblical principles of the tithe. You know, if God's not asking for more than 10%, government certainly doesn't deserve more.
Well, I say yes, biblical principles apply. I would also say that I'm not sure what a poverty line could be established, but maybe those who are below a certain income level. And I'm talking about, the Constitution really established a system where it was expected that people would take care of themselves, and only the indigent would be relieved of any kind of tax burden should that become an issue.
Well, actually, the Constitution was specific in not having an income tax, and they had to pass the 16th Amendment to overturn that. The Founding Fathers thought income tax was immoral.
Well, I do agree with that, but there also was a provision in there, and I'm not sure of the reading, but I've read a little bit about the Constitution, and I believe that it indicated that people who were truly indigent should not have to maybe share food products or whatever it was that they did when they first came over here. But whatever the thing is.
Well, look, I know more about your tax plan, Sherry, than I know about Kamala Harris, and you're not running for president, so thank you very much.
I don't know anything about Kamala Harris and don't want to.
I know. But look, Sherry says 10% across the board. Everyone pays the same. Sounds fair to me. Why is that what Kamala Harris is talking about? Is she talking about the Sherry plan? Because I like that one. That would convince me. Let's ask Dwayne. Dwayne in Plano, you're on WBAP. What do you think is a fair share, sir?
Well, regardless of whatever rhetoric she uses, the term fair share to a progressive Democrat means that they will take money from people that do make it but won't vote for her and give it to people that don't make it but will vote for her. Basically, it is a method by which leftists buy votes. And progressive Democrats seem to believe that for whatever reason, people that make more than $400,000 a year or whatever arbitrary amount they like to say at the time, they need to be punished because they're taking money from people that aren't making it.
Yeah, and I like that approach too, is when you do put that in place. You know, they gripe about how Warren Buffett pays less in taxes than his secretary. Well, Warren Buffett gets taxed differently than someone who makes $400,000 a year. So your little $400,000 a year tax increase isn't going to affect that guy anyway. It's not going to affect Jeff Bezos. It's not going to affect Elon Musk. It will affect people who are not in that upper echelon top 10th of 1% elite. It's gonna get like dentist. It's going to get like the superintendent at your school. It's going to get a successful real estate broker. It's going to get, you know, this constituency that's not in the elite, because that's who they want you to think they're taxing. They want you to think they're just taxing the monopoly man, some guy with a top hat and a monocle. But what they're really you're right. They are taxing a very red constituency, and it's the most powerful part of the red constituency. These are the people that have disposable income, that can donate to candidates, that can fund causes, that can put on events, and that can actually sway, show a little bit of power.
Well, he also employs those people also employ thousands of people and keep them in, fairly well-paying jobs, and pays their medical benefits. So, what's wrong? He also took the risk of building his business and risking his capital to build that business.
Absolutely.
And I just find that leftist Democrats, progressive Democrats, do not like people that are more successful than they are.
There's a lot of envy in that whole DEI thing, a lot of envy going on. Great call. I'll do one more here. John in Frisco. What do you think represents fair share when it comes to taxes, sir?
I say we go to a federal sales tax.
Oh, you like the fair tax, like from Neil Bortz, that thing?
I'm not 100% sure about his, but I just think that if we do away with the income tax and go to a straight federal sales tax, and I honestly think a 2% federal sales tax, and the reason I go that route is, and I talk to a lot of people about this, and when I tell them, they finally get it, that every illegal that's in this country will now be paying taxes. Every single person that comes to this country on vacation will be paying 2% on their souvenirs, their hotel, their food, their dinners and everything, the restaurants. Every kid that goes and buys something from what they got, money for their birthday or something, that little kid now is paying 2%. So every single person in this country that buys anything is paying 2%.
Yeah, so the old VAT tax method. The book I was referencing, there's a radio host that used to be out of Atlanta named Neil Bortz, and he wrote it with a Congressman John Linder, if I remember. Okay, so did you get it from that book, or did you hear it from that show?
No,
or well,
no, sir. It's just my uncle and I talk a lot about this every day.
Yeah, well, listen, listen. If that's what you like, go get this book, because they actually wrote the piece of legislation that would, repeal the income tax and put all that in. And I think the number they came up with was like 4.2% is what the national sales tax would have to be to cover it. But all that is based on math that's like 15 years old too. So I don't know what the number is, but you're really close, and I think you would like that book. So thank you, John in Frisco. Coming up next, Raven Harrison is going to give you some hot takes on what's going on with the election. Coming up next, it's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Come see me tomorrow if you're going to the Texas State Fair. I'll be there in the Embarcadero building and just doing my thing from 2 to 5. I am not going to hang out very long afterwards because it's Friday. It's Texas. We got football. I know we got football tonight too with the Cowboys, but I'm a little worried about that. I think they might just have to take a knee till January if they don't win tonight. But my next guest, Raven Harrison. Raven, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about in this Kamala Harris interview with Stephanie Ruhle yesterday on MSNBC. She threw out she was asked about her tax plan, and it's simple, Raven. She's just going to get people who make more than $400,000 to pay their fair share. What does she mean by that?
Well, it's basically the typical Kamala word salad for, they say tax the rich, which is basically them. And essentially, it's nonsensical garbage. She's still trying to tiptoe around not having an actual program, a platform to run on. The taxes are not the issue. The issue is the 20 million, economic parasites that she has let into the country who all require money and benefits. So that's what the issue is. But like everything else, she has no solution.
Okay. Strong opinion there from Raven Harrison. The other questions that we're trying to get answers to. having a hard time with it is what would she would do with tariffs. Now, I listened to her answer. After listening to it about a minute and 20 seconds of her answer, I still have no idea what she would do with tariffs.
Well, she doesn't have any idea what she would do with tariffs. What they're doing right now, what they quietly have been when exercising, has been trying to hang on to the benefits we've gotten from Trump. When Trump put those tariffs on, we finally had these companies paying their fair share. All of these organizations that were ripping us off were paying their shares. Now they're trying to villainize the tariffs, and essentially we need something to balance it out because we just have spending going out of control. So the tariffs are a way for us to recoup some of what we're losing and to start to cut this, but they don't want to cut spending. They want to tax and spend. That's the Democrats' platform. Tax and spend. Send $365 billion to Ukraine. Send billions and billions. Hand out free money to illegals. This is their plan. This is their platform, and America is at the brink. We're about ready to lose our country.
We also have the vice presidential debate coming up next week. I'm supposed to be on a radio station where I tell you this is going to be exciting and historic, but I think this is going to be a non-factor.
I agree with you because basically, again, Tim Walz has nothing to run on. He let Minnesota burn to the ground during the Black Lives Matter. He is now under investigation currently, today, right now, under investigation for his ties and unethical behavior with the CCP. He is unqualified, and he's going to get up there. All they've got is we think J.D. Vance is weird. J.D. Vance is a senator. He is a veteran, a true veteran, and this guy is stolen valor weirdo who is going to attempt to gaslight and make this about abortion. That's always the platform. Remember, for your listeners, when they don't have an economy, the inflation's out of control, the border's wide open, so where do they go? We need to be able to kill babies.
Well, Raven Harrison, is there a chance that either side could hurt themselves in this vice presidential debate?
I think the only person in danger of that is Tim Walz because the poll numbers don't lie. After Biden's debate started tanking, after her debate started tanking, especially when it was caught that she was cheating. So what you're seeing right now is they have to do this. That's why they've been challenging Trump. We need another debate so they can continue to lie and gaslight. And I'm very proud of President Trump for saying, no, that's okay. We'll just let you guys go ahead. If you give them enough rope, let them go ahead and do their thing. So
I saw another headline, Raven, that Kamala has finally been shamed in going to the border. What do you think about that?
I think it's a disgusting publicity stunt. She's going to go down there and pretend to care, but it does not change the fact that she has had 3.5 years. This border is open on purpose. She could have closed it any time she wanted to. She could close it today if she wanted to. It is open because they want to create a one-party system. They want to create a permanent class. So they're waving these people in, and they are registering to vote and giving them driver's license and basically giving away the American dream.
Well, let's talk about theroarpack.com. What's going on over at theroarpack.com?
We are fighting on the legislative front. We didn't get the SAVE Act passed, but that doesn't mean we don't have work to do. It means we still have to be on these legislators. Unfortunately, Congress is taking another not so well-earned vacation, but we still have to be ready to protect. When President Trump gets in, they're going to create problems and obstruct. So that's what the Roar Pack and the Roar Mission are doing. The Roar Mission is for veterans, though, James. So if any veterans are listening to this and they are struggling or they're not able to get the benefits they need in this economy, that's not political. Go to the Roar Pack, theroarmission.com, and we will get them the resources they need.
Man, I see a couple weeks ago you were at some event in, I guess it was Alabama. When are you doing another event around here?
Looks like the beginning of November. On the 2nd, I'll be doing a parade out there, but I will be back in Texas soon. Right now, we're in North Carolina right now for the Salt and Light Festival. We were just in Birmingham with the grassroots, and we're going to get it done. Okay. This is Raven Harrison. Check her out at theroarpack.com. And you have to add the word "the" into the website address. The Roar, like a tiger roars, pack, PAC.com. Thank you very much, Raven. Thanks, James.
There she is, Raven Harrison. She probably has a hot opinion on what we're going to eat for dinner. No, we're going to go get tacos, and we're going to get the real tacos with the real cilantro and the real lime, not just some squirted sauce out of a bottle. I think me and Raven Harrison would be good friends if we hung out. All right, coming up next, I have another guest here that's going to clue you in on what's going on with the border and sort of a preview when I asked Raven what she thinks about Kamala Harris's border trip. I'm going to ask a guy from the Heritage Foundation who keeps an eye on the border his thoughts on the Kamala Harris border trip. Because look, we've been saying she needs to go down there and complaining that she doesn't go. So it feels kind of rough to complain even when she does go. But then the real important thing is the policies. A lot of the stuff was changed by executive order. She is the vice president. She can tap the guy on the shoulder that can sign a piece of paper and change all this stuff right now. The border trip, if she's not going to change any policy, I mean, it really is just for show, I suppose. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Do you think that there's any chance Kamala Harris is going to go to the border and say, oh my goodness, what have I done? We need to make some changes, and then comes back and makes those changes? Is she going to make any changes before the election? 800-288-9227. I want to remind you, come check me out tomorrow. I'm going to be broadcasting live from the Texas State Fair in the Embarcadero building. And I'm not going to have a whole lot of friends with me. It's just going to be me and like a promo guy and some dude running the board, some engineer. So I'll have time on the breaks. I chat, take pictures, whatever you want to do. Come out and say hi. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.